Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see everybody once again. I hope you have all had a very nice weekend, or excuse me, a very nice week, and hope you have a very nice weekend. Let me put it that way. Um, Today's topic comes from just conversations I've had with people recently and a few thoughts. Um, And I know a lot of people are like, why is it addressed as shadow? Um, we'll talk a little bit about it. So, a few years ago, I learned about a therapeutic thing called shadow work, where you can get a shadow book. Wait, sure. Um, it is a book to help you process things that you may not have realized that you have gone through. Helps you process what your life was like as a child. It helps you process um, things that you don't recognize that you do. It allows you to love on yourself a little more. It allows you to um, let you peek into your life in a way that you may not have ever done so. I have been someone who is always self-reflecting, so that that was natural to me. But to actually physically do it was something different, and it helped me process a few things about my childhood. And so whenever we're talking about the shadow, it's that everybody has a shadow. Everybody has one. And I'm not talking about your physical shadow. I'm talking about the side of you that you don't know is in existence because you don't know it's there, or the side of you that you know is there, but you tend to hide that from people. You don't really share that a lot with people. But with this shadow work book, and you can get one on Amazon. They're like $5. It helps you process and go through things, and it helps alleviate some things and processes, because I used to go through really bad anxiety, and I didn't know where it came from. I'm just going to be honest. And the book kind of helped me break that down a little more. There was a time where I did know about it, and then I didn't know, like, where else did it come from? But the book allowed me to see things in my life, some things that I suppressed, feelings and things that I've gone through, and just didn't really deal with it, because we're always taught, to push through, push through, push through. And yes, you should push through, but there's a process in the push through, right? You have to actually sit with and process things, and then you can push through in a healthier way. But today, when I'm talking about pushing through and working with your shadow, I mean, what is that? So let me take it for the first instance. If you don't know what that shadow part is, um, I would suggest getting that shadow book. Or if you're not don't want the shadow book, that's fine. Get a therapist. Understand that part of you that needs to be healed, because in that healing, whether or not you believe you need a therapist or not, there's a part of you that you don't know needs to be healed. And once that part of you is healed, you now have another outlook on life. You now have a um, another reason to do what God has placed you to do, whatever God has in store for you. One thing is, and I actually had this conversation with a coworker. If you don't know that you're in pain, you're going to continue to life, because it's you have normalized the pain, right? So if you don't know, and this goes with any type of health condition, right? This is why people tell you to go get a checkup with your doctor, even if you feel fine, because you don't know. You have normalized things that should not be normalized. In our Black communities, we have normalized the fact that people shoot in our neighborhoods. And it's the shock factor has left. So sometimes when we hear multiple gunshots, we hear multiple gang violence, it's just like, oh, they up the street fighting again. They up the street, our neighbors are up the street punching holes in the wall, up the street, in the apartment above me, punching holes in the wall, because they're fighting again. And I'm just tired of it, and da 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 da. That is not normal behavior. People tend to normalize trauma. People tend to normalize unhealthy physical conditions, unhealthy mental conditions, and because of that normalization, we don't know what healing looks like. And a part of healing is understanding the parts of you that need to be healed. And you only do that unless you do something, unless you do something outside of yourself, meaning you are not trying to heal yourself, because that is not a part of your background. Like, I went to basically, I'll just say, on this side of the fence of life, I went to school to become a public health worker, and a business administrative. I have masters in both of those fields, right? That doesn't mean that I can go to a speech therapist and say, oh, you're doing your job wrong and you should use this technique. That is not my field, right? I can't tell a speech therapist how to do their job. They know the techniques and the tools that they need to use to help someone with their speech therapy, not me. I can only refer somebody to the speech therapist to help them. You see where I'm going? So with that, we have to do the same. If we're not the specialist in a job, we need to see the specialist so that they can do their jobs by any means necessary. Like, and people say, oh, well, I don't have the money to do this and I don't have the money to do that. But we save up for things that we want to do. We save up for vacations. We save up. How many of y'all got Beyonce tickets? And how many of y'all know somebody that have Beyonce tickets? I guarantee that they saved up for it. I actually had a conversation last weekend with someone, and they were like, "Yeah, I saved for 6 to 8 months because I already knew that I was going to go to this concert." Right? We can save up for things that we want to do, but the things that we need to do the same. We have to do that because what's a day of pleasure versus a lifetime change that can help us live even longer. And yes, that's getting into the health side of things, but going back to what I'm talking about for the shadow is that when we do things for that shadow side that we don't know needs help, that we don't know needs loving, that we don't know needs care, what we're allowing that inner man, that inner person of us is to continue to hurt and go through pain and live life uh, that is not conducive to how we're supposed to live. If we're supposed to live in peace, why do we normalize trauma and turmoil and pain? That does not get us anywhere. It actually creates uh, pockets of holes for us that we often find ourselves stuck in. We get stuck in certain types of ruts because we don't process and do things differently. I remember, I don't know why this came up, but I remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, I cut my leg," and I asked him, well, well, what did you do? Like, did you clean it? Did you go to the hospital? He was like, "No, I put motor oil on it." Why did you put motor oil on your leg? And he was like, "I don't know. It was just, I just know it could. I don't know. I just poured it up there, and that wasn't something you're supposed to do. That stuff went into your leg. It could have poisoned you." And it's like when we go through instances like that, we reach for anything to comfort us. And it doesn't mean that what we grab a hold on to will actually comfort us. We believe that it will comfort us. And so we continue to use that thing, and it can actually be very detrimental to us. It can actually, what we believe we're doing is not what it's actually doing. And it reminds me of that meme of where it says, what I actually do compared to what people think I do. My family think I do this. My friends think I do this. My job think I do this. But this is what I actually do. And that's what we're doing. We're grabbing onto things to hold on to, believing that they are going to heal us, believing that they're going to bring us out. And really, they're not doing any of that. So when I talk about actually going to see those specialists to help us get out of ourselves, that is what we have to do. We can no longer sit and allow ourselves to walk and fumble in darkness. We have to address those issues that we don't wish to see. We need to start understanding why we tick, why we talk the way that we do. And if you don't understand why you tick and talk the way that you do, again, go see a therapist to figure that out. Because the minute you can figure that out, the minute you can fix that, the minute you can start making positive changes in your life. Now, for the other side of the shadow self, the parts that we do know is there, but we refuse to acknowledge publicly. That is the basis for this whole talk today. Because I began to think about things and how I'm not going to say things that I hide, but things that I'm just like, I like to disrupt things, not intentionally. So I don't want people to go around saying, "Oh, Brian is a problem starter. He likes to no, 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 no." I pinpoint things. I'm a strategist. I have an eye for strategy. I see things that are wrong and I try to fix it. Yes, a part of me is also a fixer. But the thing is, I can get a little John Lewis-ish and get into some good trouble. I don't mind popping your bubble to get you to where you need to be, right? There's times I've been brutally honest with folks and they look at me like, "Tag, did you really have to come for me that way?" Yes, I did, because I see something greater in you than you don't see. So not all the time I'm going to come up to you and give you that pat on the shoulder you do. No, sometimes I'm going to be the scrubbing pad to scrub off the grit and the dirt on you that doesn't need to be there. Like what they say, iron sharpens iron. If I see that you are a strong person, baby, I'm not going to play into your weakness. I am going to sharpen you even more because I see the sharp points in you. And I had this conversation, oh gosh, like maybe 2013, 14, 15 with a friend of mine. And I told her, I said, a lot of people keep saying that I'm mean. And I'm like, but I'm not mean, I'm nice. And she said, well, baby, maybe that's who you are to your core. Maybe you don't allow to see that because you don't want to be that way. But if you're mean and everybody's saying that you're mean, maybe you're mean. Embrace it. I have now come to realize that it's not mean, but people will take it as being mean because I push you in the right direction. And change hurts. Change is not pretty. I am a catalyst of change. I don't believe in staying the same. I don't believe in being stuck. I have never been that way. I have always, I'm going to find a way, some kind of way. I'm going to make a way, right? You know how we said our parents and our great parents, that we don't know how they did it, but they did it anyway. I'm that person 24/7. Yeah, and a friend of mine just said mean versus being direct. Exactly. I actually had a conversation with a younger person, um, and I said, your generation is very sensitive, and he got defensive, and I said, that's what I'm talking about. I said, see, I said, I bet you right now you think that I came for you, and I didn't. I'm pinpointing to you that you have to get thicker skin, because in the real world, they're not going to care about who you are, whose child you are. They're going to talk to you any kind of way. They're going to do to you what they want to do, because that's how people act when they don't know your purpose in life. Yes, there are times when you have to be quiet and you have to bite the bullet, as they say, but you have to push through. And then there are other times where you have to actually use your voice and speak out. But if somebody says something to you and you curl up like you curl up like them little roly po, I forget what them bugs called. We used to call them roly polies when I was a kid. Them little bugs that you touch them and then they curl up into a ball. You can't curl up like that ball when you're dealing with life. Sometimes you have to oh gosh, I'm hearing and seeing literally, you have to face your fears like David faced Goliath, right? And the only way to do that is you have to not be so sensitive to the point that when people are trying to direct you and they are giving you constructive criticism, that you don't ball up, that you don't cry, that you don't feel like, oh, everybody's out to get me. No. When you have been doing something over and over and over again and not going anywhere, and someone said, hey baby, I see that you've been trying to do this, but you need to stop doing this because you're only going around in a circle. They see what you don't see. And sometimes when we get in our own bubbles and we keep pushing and we keep doing things over and over and over again, it's like we're going around in a circle, but we don't know that we're going in the circle because we're in it. Just like the children of Israel, when they were in the desert for 40 years, when they didn't have to be, only because they were going around and around and around and around and around in the circle. Now, yes, there was a purpose for them going around and around and around in a circle. But oftentimes we don't have to continue to go in that circle, but we are in that circle and we continue to walk in that circle because we refuse to change. We refuse to use the tools that God has placed inside of us for our greater good, which is what I mean. But when I say, if you know that shadow side of you, that side of you that you often hide, that parts of you that you don't embrace, when you embrace it and you understand what that thing is to its core, you begin to use it for change. You begin to grow in it and you begin to see why you are that way. Why are you always the loudest person in the room? Maybe because when you're the person in the room and you see what's happening, you may be the person that God is directing for you to speak out on something. Like for me, like I said, like they like my friend said that I said I was talking to her about me being mean. And I realized later on in life that it's not being mean, but I guide. You know, when someone needs to be healing, a healing process is not oftentimes light and easy. When you're going through a healing process, it hurts. Especially if you're talking about like a physical wound, right? They said that the skin is literally pushing out the dead stuff. And because it's pushing out the dead stuff, and if it's poisonous, it's pushing out the poison, it hurts, it burns, it stings. And that's because it's cleaning out what doesn't need to be in there. And that's the part of you on the inside. It will often push out what doesn't need to be there. Like I have a lot of friends from up north, and I know I have a lot of clearly I have a lot of friends from the south. I'm from the south, right? But a lot of my southern friends say I can't stand people up north. They're too brutal. They too loud. They too this. I said I absolutely love them because I love them for their directness. I love people to be direct with me only because that is how you get the message across. Don't beat around the bush with me. Tell me direct. If you want me to walk up the stairs, tell me you walk up the stairs. Don't you go say, "Well, I'm going upstairs now." Oh, okay, well, you going upstairs. What they got to do with me? you know. Um, but when people are direct, it goes right to you. It's clear and straight to the point. And for what it needs to do, it goes straight to the source. If it's a matter of the heart, it will go straight to the heart. If it's a mind thing, it's going to go straight to the mind. If it's okay, I'm hearing this literally. If it's you telling that mountain to move, it's going directly to the mountain and say, "Mountain, you got to move." It's not going to go to the tree in front of the mountain and hurt the tree. No, it's going to go directly to the mountain so that that mountain can move. So you have to embrace that side of you that people often say is there, and you have to recognize what is in it. What is at the core? What is the main ingredient of that thing that God can use in me? And one of the things, oftentimes when people go to church, they say, "I used to be a gang banger," and people often wonder, how could God use a gang banger? And I can go out there and go minister to the people that are in gangs, right? That is the side of you that God can use, because He's not going to send somebody who is scary to go out to the streets to witness to some people. No, He's going to send somebody that has that inner strength, that inner knowledge of the inner street knowledge, but that inner strength, that boldness that comes with being in a game, that fearlessness that comes with being in a game, and He's going to use that for His advantage. And He's going to say, "Okay, now I'm going to send you back into those streets because you already know how to act. You already know what to look for. You already know what to say to how to pierce somebody's heart, to instill it where you used to instill fear in people. Now I'm going to instill my words into people. Where you used to cause chaos and havoc, I now want you to use that same authority, um, I don't want to say manipulation because it's not manipulation, but that same way of talking to people to get people together. I now want you to, instead of creating chaos in our communities, I want you to bring these communities together, because you have made a name for yourself when you was out there in the street. And now I want you to go back and use that name, but use it for my purpose. That's often like when somebody is writing you a recommendation letter, they're going to tell you, "Now, if I get my name on this, you better not act up because my name is on this." Uh, if we're going to represent you, you have to know that you have to uphold yourself, because it is not just you, but my name is on the line. The company's name is on the line. You are now a representative of us, and you must hold yourself accountable to those things. That is what God does. He uses what has already been placed on you, and He then puts a mandate that now you have to use it, because I know that you know how to use it, because you use it to be a hellraiser for all these many years. And now I want you to use it for my purpose, for my will, to do even better things, even greater things, positive things. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you don't put it away. People often say, I want to be naked. I don't want to be naked. I don't want to bear it all in front of people. I'm not telling you to bear it all in front of people, because there are some things that people just don't need to know about your life. But if it's something about you that people dislike, but yet it always keeps coming up, then that is something that you need to look into, because that is the thing that God wants to use in you to help bring out other people, or to help address something. For instance, I didn't know why, as a kid, I would always speak out against stuff. I had no problems calling anyone out at all. I would address things, and I've often said this on this platform. Whenever I had a discussion with a teacher, if she told me a week ago that you're going to get an A in this class, and this is my report. On my report card, if I saw a B, I have a question. What happened to my A that we discussed about a week ago? Because I need to know what I need to improve, or what things I need to do to maintain my A. I never knew why I had that type of mentality. I never knew why you couldn't just tell me, well, for math, that's one thing, but you just couldn't tell me a thing was a thing. I needed to know why. My brain works, it processes and works it out, because it wants to get the full understanding of that thing. It wants to get the full understanding of how it works. And you can't do that if you just say, oh, it just is. No. Why is it? How is it? What makes it? And when does certain things happen that triggers all the rest of this? So now, in my present job, when I look at a thing and it doesn't make sense, I'm asking questions that researchers, doctors, physicians, and therapists have not asked themselves. And they now have to go back and come up with solutions to those problems, because I'm the one that spotted it out. If you tell me that your services are to provide help for all the people, then why is it, and this is just an example, then why is it that when veterans come up here, they can't get their services rendered? Why is it that there are certain populations of people, when they come up here, they don't have access to your resources? And that is oftentimes because you have not thought about them. You'll state it publicly that my services is for all people, but it doesn't provide services for all people, because you have not considered what each person goes through. You have not considered the different stipulations, and we like to call that the social determinants of health. We don't understand the day-to-day lives of these people, and how, when they come to our facilities, why it's such trouble for them to receive services. You have not considered that. And so now, me being the outsider, again, the outside person looking in, because you've been in your bubble, walking around in a circle, and now I'm spotting it out, and now I'm addressing it to you. Now I'm calling it out. And that's why I always tell people, like, don't tell me that you're a person that you'll keep it 100 all the time. Because at the first slip and you're at 99.98%, you're not being 100. You're 2 points off. Why are you 2 points off? And it's not me calling the person out, but it's me holding the person accountable for what they're saying. And no, it is not, I don't necessarily need to do that, right? But it's this thing on the inside of me that says, if you're going to say something and if you're going to do something, I need you to do it. Don't because and that comes with the point of me not really I have a very distaste of people who like to lie. um if you say you're going to do something, do it. If something has changed and you're not able to do it, say that. That's where communication happens. But it all starts in with you addressing and knowing who you are to your core. When you know who you are to your core, the good and the bad, you can take both and make it work. Now, I was looking up a few scriptures in the Bible about shadow. I just wanted to see what it says. And in the Bible, the shadow is both referred to as being the shadow of death or the shadow of God's wings, right? Which means that there's two meanings. That means you can use both shadows for your good, because if you're looking at the shadow of death, you know what you don't want. And if you're in the shadow of good, that means that you're being protected and that you're guided in a certain direction. And so when you put the two together, it leads you down a what? A straight and narrow path. When you take the good parts inside of you and you take the parts inside of you that you know is there and you put them together, you have a straight and narrow direction of what you're supposed to do in life, how you're supposed to move, and then you watch how God moves in your life. We try to often appear perfect in public, but we're human. Human is human. Nobody is perfect. We have our doubts, we have our fears, we have our slip ups and our mess ups, and that is fine. As long as you have a repentant heart, as long as you can say, God, this is what I need work on. I need help with this thing. But I also want to know what is in this thing, what is in this thorn that you would have me to use for your glory. What is that thing on the inside? What is the core? And if you gotta pray to God and ask him, her, however you believe, what that thing is, ask. Because I would rather for you to be enlightened on who you are to your core than for you to believe the narratives that other people place on you, and you start to have self-doubt and you start to fear that what others are saying about you are true when they're not seeing the core of you. They're only seeing the surface level. If people on the surface level say, oh my gosh, this person is always loud and obnoxious, and not understanding that you're supposed to be a speaker box and call out those things uh, as though they were, but yet also call out things that for correction. Their words can shut your mouth up, and you start to lock yourself up. You start to close up your mouth, and you start to not speak on things because, well, people always call me loud and obnoxious, so I'm just going to sit here now. I see where the problem is, and I see what needs to happen, but I'm going to stay in my corner. I'm going to stay because I'm tired of speaking out. I'm tired of people throwing stones at me for being loud and obnoxious when they don't understand. I don't know why I'm that way. And then you slowly start to die in the background. You slowly watch how things happen. You start to see miniature 9/11s happen all around you because you refuse to open your mouth because of what other people have said, because they don't understand why you are the way you are. But I guarantee, if you shake off those words that other people say because they don't understand why you are who you are, because they don't understand you to your core, and you start speaking out on things, Man, let me tell you about so and so. You know, we always call them loud and obnoxious, but let me tell you what they doing now. Every time we go to the courthouse and something is wrong, that person is the first person to open their mouth and speak out. So that person may be loud and obnoxious at times to us, but when we need them to speak up, they don't have a problem speaking up. They don't have a problem addressing a spade as a spade to whomever, and it gets the work done. It changes things. It changes the atmosphere of things. It changes rules and regulations and laws and policies because I mean I addressed it and they act like they didn't hear me, but this person came in and said the exact same thing, and now their ears and eyes are open. Now things are starting to happen. It's not oftentimes. I'm gonna change this. There are times when we feel like we're not heard, but when somebody else says the same exact thing, it's received, right? Maybe it's because it's something on the inside of that person that made it receptive. Maybe you were supposed to be the person to call it out, and this person was in the room when you said it, but maybe that was your assignment. And the person that heard you can now say it again because their vocal cords and their stamina and their character and their presence will make the delivery that much more impactful. So now, when they said what you have been saying all along, the person that needs to hear it, the people that need to hear it, can now receive it because of how it was delivered. This is also a communication thing. How you say things, the way you say things, and facial expressions help with the delivery of everything. So I want you all to think about those shadow sides of you that you don't let people see, that you know is there, and figure out what is at the core. And again, just like on the other side of the shadow, if you don't know what that is, if you don't know why you're the way that you are, go seek a therapist. Go seek out the shadow workbook that you can get from Amazon for like $5. There are some that cost more, but I guarantee if you go through that book and you work through it, it helps you process so many things about yourself. It helps you give yourself so much more understanding so that you can say that light bulb can go off and be like, aha, that is why I needed to do that. That is why I needed to do this, because now I'm starting to see the pattern. I'm starting to see the trend. I'm starting to see where my life took that left turn when I should have made a right turn. And now I know how to get back. I know how to get back on my straight and narrow road. I now know how to do the things that I need to do. Because when we start to do things and how we're supposed to do it, doors open for us. And yes, just like in Proverbs, how it says there's a time for all things. There will be a time for you to speak. There will be a time for you to be quiet. There will be a time for you to stay, and there will be a time for you to leave. But as long as you know who you are to your core, when you have to make those decisions, it's going to become easy because you don't have to overthink about it. You're just going to say, I'm going to do this because this is for me. This is who I am to my core, and I understand why I'm doing these things. And when you understand why you're doing these things, people can wonder, oh my gosh, that person's going to be in turmoil because this and this and this happened. And you can be in your house peaceful, and they come in, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, you okay? Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong over here. Everything's good. Like, what's up? you know, and people may not understand that peace beyond understanding, but because you know who you are to your core and how you act and why you do the things that you do, you are solid and you can sit in your truth. And when you sit in your truth, you can only walk and move what? In your truth. Because you know the what? The truth of who you are, how you are, what you are, and whose you are. And nobody can take that from you. Nobody can disrupt your life. You won't be easily shaken. You'll have a solid platform for which you stand and a solid platform for which you can operate in. And you can start actually helping other people solidify their own platforms by helping them to understand who they are. So that is what I want to say today about working with your shadow. Don't work against it. There's a balance on this earth. There's two. The earth spins on an axis. I don't know why this is coming out, but it's coming out. The earth spins on an axis. It has a north pole and a south pole. People often look at the north pole more because they, look to the sky, it's closest to the sun. But we forget that there's a south pole that's cold, that's dark, that we often don't talk about. But yet it keeps us grounded just as much as the north pole keeps us lifted up in the sky and keeps us balanced. So you have to embrace all sides of you to keep yourself balanced. Because one thing that will happen, you keep ignoring something all you want to, and I guarantee it's going to have its slip ups and it's going to come out. And it's going to come out in a way where you're going to be like, why did I just do that? And you're going to become so embarrassed. But if you know that's who you are, and you start to see the triggers that will push you over the edge on that side of you, you're going to become so self-aware that you'll know, okay, well, it's time for me to go. I reached my limit. And you just get up and go. You're going to understand how you move, why you move. And this is on the other side, kind of addressing the other side of your shadow if you don't know it's there. Because if you don't know it's there, you're going to have these slip-ups and try to question why you do the things that you do. But again, if you go see a specialist, they will help you pinpoint and tell you what that thing is so that you can work on it. But again, it takes both sides of yourself to balance yourself. And we all have it. I don't care what anybody say. We all have it. We all have that light and dark side. The sides of us that we can show to the world and the side of us that we don't show to the world. And even if you want to take it scripturally, the side of Jesus that people saw in the Bible was his human side with the touch of God, right? With the touch of the Holy Spirit that performed miracles on earth. But the shadow side of him, the complete God side of him, we have not seen yet. Because why? It's not time for us to see it. But that side of him, he couldn't reveal to so many people because it would cause a disruption on the earth, on the balance of the earth, on the balance of things. He had to keep that side of him hidden. He revealed himself to people, and that's by word of mouth. But even then, Doubting Thomas did not believe him until he had to what? Show the nail prints in his hands. And that is when he believed, oh, wow, like you are the Son of God. You are this master healer. You are the one that we've been waiting for. Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you, but I had to keep that side hidden. I couldn't show that side to you because you're not equipped and ready and prepared for that side of me. But what happened when he was on earth? At the time that he needed it to, that God side of him slipped out, peeped out, and he began to heal folks. But he already knew that side of him. He already knew his shadow side. He said, I just got to keep it hidden from folks. There's some people out here operating in their shadow side and don't know that they're operating in their shadow side because for them, they don't even know that it exists. They don't even know that they're operating in it because, again, they have normalized their traumas, their pains, those things. And yes, I know that Jesus' shadow side was not as dark, but again, not all shadow sides are dark. It's just some things that you need to heal in yourself to be a better version of yourself. And Jesus understood that. He understood that in order for people to understand who they are, they had to know who they are completely. Because if you refuse to recognize that you are a liar, and every time you talk, you're always lying, and then you're trying to figure out why people pull away from you. I don't know why people pull away from me. I'm such a good person. I never do this. I never do that. Well, baby, you are a liar, and people are tired of hearing your lies. And when you recognize that you are a liar, then you're going to start changing the way you talk. You're going to start changing the way you move. And if you have a problem in that area, if you seek out help, I guarantee they're going to help you understand why you start lying, when you started lying, and how you see it for yourself. And when you can understand that, you can start fixing it. Hi, Chanel. But I just want you to, if you're just joining in, like, definitely watch the beginning, and all of this will make sense. Um, it's not gonna make sense now, because you're coming in at the end. But please watch this if you're just tuning in. But definitely start working with yourself on all sides of yourself. Start taking those notes. Start noticing what triggers you. Start noticing what God is trying to reveal to you about yourself. I think I did a message, a topic earlier this year, something about like don't message receive, don't miss the message, because oftentimes God is always trying to tell people who they are and things about themselves that need to be changed or things that need to be worked on, and we miss it because we refuse to see it. But refusing to see it and refusing to acknowledge this thing doesn't mean that thing is not there. I can say all day that I refuse to recognize this as a remote. But I can't use it as anything other than a remote. I can't not recognize that it's beside my computer. I can act like it's not there. But baby, somebody come in and pick up this remote and flip my TV. Why'd you do that? Because it was there. So definitely, please watch this video from the beginning. I hope you all stay blessed. Again, share it with those that you feel like need this, that need to hear this. And also start Like I said earlier, start taking those notes and the things that people are saying and really listen to it, really hear it out, really see what is the root of that, what is at the core of that, and use it for a greater good. My last message to you: be kind. Life is good because life is good. All right. Now you all be blessed.